Good morning, everyone. I would like to start out with a quote from the Statement of Affirmation and Reconciliation by the Quaker meeting in Aotearoa. Each individual's journey through life is unique. Some will make this journey alone, others in loving relationships, maybe marriage or other forms of commitment. We need to ponder our own choices and try to understand the choices of others. Love has many shapes and colors and is not finite. It cannot be measured or defined in terms of sexual orientation. Now, if you ask just about anyone, they'll tell you that they're in favor of equal rights for homosexuals, until you get to the issue of gay marriage. Now, according to Scott Bidstrup, in his article on gay marriage, about half of the people in the U.S. are opposed to gay marriage, and 3/4 of that half are otherwise in favor of gay rights. Which brings me to my topic today. These are a whole bunch of pictures that I got from an article by Lance Iverson. He's from the Hearst Chronicle. And the stereotype is that gays are promiscuous, unable to form lasting relationships, and that the relationships are shallow and uncommitted. Now, the important fact to remember is that this is true in gay as well as straight relationships. And these relationships are a small minority based primarily among younger adults. Now, I'm sure everybody in here has had an uncommitted relationship. I know I have. Now, there's 3 main things that I'm going to be discussing with you today. First, some of the arguments that have been used in court to oppose gay marriage, and why those arguments don't hold water. Second, I'll be discussing some of the real reasons why people are opposed to it, and why those reasons don't suffice either. And then finally, I'll be telling you why this is a very serious civil rights issue that needs to be taken into consideration. So first, some of the arguments to oppose gay marriage and why they don't hold water. The first argument that we'll be discussing: marriage is an institution between a man and a woman for procreation and continuation of the species. Now, if this is the case, then why are infertile couples allowed to marry? Who says what marriage is, and who's responsible for defining it? The married? The marryable? There are many studies that have shown that children raised in gay homes are just as normal as children raised in straight homes, and a lot of the time, children raised in gay homes are a direct result of a heterosexual divorce based on one of the spouses being gay and being afraid to come out. This is the case in my friend Jody, who you'll see a quote from later on. Now, another common argument is that gay relationships are immoral and would threaten the institute of marriage. Now, this is a contradiction in itself. How can you threaten marriage by allowing people to marry? And who says it's immoral? The Bible? The Bible should have no standing in American law. Freedom of religion also means freedom from religion. And not all religions are opposed to gay marriage. For example, Buddhism welcomes it. Now, the last common argument that we'll be discussing is that gay marriage would mean forcing businesses and churches to provide the same benefits to same-sex couples as to opposite-sex couples. Now, as far as the business industry goes, many companies, including most Fortune 500 companies, already offer these benefits and are seen as being a progressive business because of it. Now, as far as the church is concerned, it's just simply not true. The church has the right to refuse to marry anyone and for any reason that they see fit. In fact, still today, there are a lot of churches, especially down south, that refuse to marry interracial couples simply because they don't believe it's right. The freedom of religion would be expanded, not contracted. And there are already some churches that have said they would marry gay couples if the law enabled them to. So now I hope how you can see how the arguments that have been used in court just don't hold up. Which brings me to my second point. Some of the real reasons why people are opposed to gay marriage, and why those reasons don't suffice either. The first reason being, they're just not comfortable with the idea, and gay sex repulses them. Now, this is why constitutional government was established in the first place, to ensure that powerless, unpopular minorities were still protected from the tyranny of majority. Simple discomfort with the idea is no reason for not allowing it. And again, there are still many people today that don't feel comfortable with interracial marriages, but there hasn't been a law against that since the 1960s. You may be surprised to find out that a lot of gays think that heterosexual sex is repulsive. So why should it only work one way? The next real reason being, it offends everything that religion stands for. This is a very common one. Now, many Christian denominations, yes, and definitely most branches of Islam and Orthodox Judaism. Aside from those few, most religions are unopposed to gay marriage. And again, Buddhism specifically welcomes it. Now this brings us back to how they're depending on the government to be responsible for sanctifying marriage, which is a fundamentally religious idea. It weakens the separation between church and state by undermining the Bill of Rights. Another one of the real reasons is that they might recruit. This is baseless because it's based on false premise. Homosexuals know better than anyone that sexual orientation is inborn and cannot be changed. This baseless fear is often used by bigots to scare people into opposing gay rights in general, as well as gay marriage. The main cause of this fear is a direct result of the fact that many homophobes, including most violent ones, are repressed sexually, often with same-sex tendencies. A recent study from the University of Georgia found that over 70% of their convicted killers of gay men exhibited sexual arousal when shown scenes of gay sex. So now I hope that you can see how even the real reasons that people are opposed to gay marriage hold no merit and have nothing to do with the law. This brings me to my last point, why this is a very serious civil rights issue. It's a matter of civil justice, and it can have life-damaging and even life-threatening consequences. For example, in most states, if one partner is suddenly rushed to the emergency room, the other partner cannot make medical decisions on their behalf. Even if they've been together for 20, 30, 50 years, the hospitals are then forced to go to the families who could have been estranged from them for decades. They're often hostile and frequently ignore their wishes regarding treatment, and can even ask for the partner to be removed from the hospital room. Upon death, even with carefully drawn wills, if a family wishes to overturn a custody decision or exclude that partner from their funeral, they're able to do so. It's been done before. Is this fair? If one partner is arrested, the other can be compelled to testify against them, while married couples are not forced to do so. A partner's testimony could also be ruled as irrelevant and hearsay and hold no more standing than that of a perfect stranger. Visitation rights by a partner can be denied on the whim of a hostile family and the cooperation of a homophobic judge, unrestrained by law. Conjugal visits, which is a well-established right of heterosexual married couples in most cases, are simply not available to gay couples. Is this fair? Almost any older gay couple can tell you numerous horror stories of friends and acquaintances who have been victimized in such ways. These things have nothing to do with the origins of marriage. They are matters that have become enshrined in state laws by legislation or court precedent over the years, excluding homosexuals from the same rights that married couples enjoy and even consider their constitutional right. This is why this is a very serious civil rights issue. It has nothing to do with who performs the ceremony, whether it's performed in a church or a courthouse or a local country club, or whether an announcement about it is accepted in the local newspaper. Now, in order to sum up everything that we've just talked about, I'd like to review. First, how I believe that none of the arguments that have been used in court that I listed to you are valid. Secondly, how I believe that none of the real reasons I gave to you are good enough either. And finally, why I believe this is a very serious civil rights issue. Now, in conclusion, I have some handouts that you're free to read on your own time, if you just want to pass them around, and then just give the extra ones to Carlene. I also strongly urge you to read the article by Scott Bidstrup, which is on the front page of the handout, the website that I got that from. And then on the back page of the handout, there's a list of websites that I use for all my research. And I'd like to finish up by reading a few quotes from two friends of mine and a couple that I was lucky enough to come in contact with. The first quote I'll be reading is from my very dear friend, Mel Self. He chooses not to label himself, so I just put working man. He says, "I don't believe a person can help who they are attracted to. For some of us, we're drawn to a person, not a particular sex. That is why I refuse to label myself. When you label yourself, you limit yourself. I can find beauty on both sides of the fence, as well as horror." My second quote is from a couple that I was lucky enough to come in contact with, Shelley and Brenna Kugel. Shelley's on the left and Brenna's on the right. They just recently got married in Lambertville when they passed the law for gay marriage in Jersey. Marriage, gay or straight, is about loving, honoring, and committing yourself to someone else. Our marriage is a symbol to the world of these things, and our acknowledgement that we accept all of the rights and responsibilities marriage includes. We hope one day that all citizens of this country are given the right of full marriage equality. And then the last quote that I have is from a very dear friend of mine, Jody Kessler. She's homosexual, she's a working mother, and she's a very loving mother. This is a picture of her and her daughter, Bray. And they're just, they're inseparable. It's an amazing love I couldn't even describe. Love is love. We are